Hey guys, how's it going? This is Red and Blue, the channel on YouTube for all things PSG in English, so please subscribe. Today, let's go back to PSG after talking about Lyon yesterday and the nonsense going on there. Let's talk about a different kind of nonsense and let's actually do a little bit of a Mercato update. I know I've seen on Twitter and on Reddit and so on, a lot of fans are worried slash complaining that the Mercato isn't going fast enough, that we're not seeing much movement, and it's a PSG fan favorite of just freaking out on short notice. That things aren't going to their liking. L'Equipe actually did an article about PSG's Mercato as well, and there's a couple of stuff that are moving. So I think it's a good time to actually just sit down and run through the whole list and see where things stand. So in terms of what the PSG is looking at, which I guess is a starting point, L'Equipe put together, like I said, they did an article and they put together a list of the positions that Paris might be recruiting for. They say a goalkeeper, a central defender, a right back to sub for Hakimi, a midfielder, a right winger, and potentially an attacking number 9, an attacker. So just on that, a couple of things that jump out for me. The right back, like Hakimi replacement, I've told you my opinion before. I think that position is better served by having a box-to-box midfielder actually covering it. And I think even if he doesn't seem to like it, and I guess in performances have been a bit uneven, having Warren who can play in that spot is not the it's not the most silly things. And I think if you look at Hakimi and the way he plays and his role in the team and what Luis Enrique is asking of him and so on, and you stop thinking in terms of very basic football manager slash FIFA positions and identity tags to put on people. Hakimi is not a right back. His role isn't his main role isn't to defend. His role is to go back and forth on the pitch from one end to the other. On the right side of it, sometimes cutting inside as he goes forward. But really, the number one thing that's being asked of him isn't to defend. And so, not only is it impossible to find someone who can cover for Hakimi because Hakimi is such a world-class player and very unique in terms of what he does. But anyone that we bring, I think the idea that people have of that position is very different from the one that Luis Enrique actually has. And so the disconnect there is worrisome to me because I don't want us to, bring another Mukiele, bring another player like this who are quality players, honestly, but just make more sense on papers that they do actually in the Luis Enrique team. So that's one. And then the second one, which I thought was interesting, is a number 9, because it came with L'Equipe saying that the door isn't entirely closed on Ramos leaving, and that the club is not pushing him out. Luis Enrique still likes him. The player has said he wants to stay, so there's no real drive to push him out like there might be for some other players. But at the same time, if a good offer comes in, bearing in mind that it costs a lot of money to bring in from Portugal, but if a good offer comes in, we can definitely sit down and see what's best for everyone. And then, if that's the case, we'll need someone to bring in a little bit of cover in attack. So that's kind of the situation, and then going position by position. So goalkeeper, we already brought Marin, who's very young Brazilian slash Italian goalkeeper from Roma, I think, who comes in. News of the day is that Tenas is apparently being looked at by Girona in Spain, which would make a lot of sense. And whether that be a loan or a transfer or whatever it might be, honestly, it's not a high impact conversation for me. So if the player is happy, if the club is happy, I'll be happy. And we're talking about our third goalkeeper, so whatever they want. But Girona would be a pretty good destination for him. He might get more playing time back in Spain. And obviously, it's a club that's worked well. They were in the Champions League this year, so they didn't qualify for next year. But they've got a good organization and good structure. So for youngsters, that's a good place to be in. Then after that, so the central defender, and I know that the one that has been making the most headlines. PSG is still very much hunting for Zabarnyi, the Ukrainian defender from Bournemouth. Discussions with Bournemouth are still going. They're a bit slow. Bournemouth is complaining that PSG staff is in the US and that the time difference is making it complicated. And like, my God, like, have you guys learned of emails? But whatever. In any case, like, PSG has said that they'd still like to bring the player in as soon as possible because they would like him to join the squad for the end of the Club World Cup. And there's a window where they can add more players to their squad. So if the transfers get finalized soon, it's possible. Like I said, conversations have been slow, so bit of a disconnect there. Couple of things since we last spoke about it, like PSG is progressively increasing its offer. Bournemouth is progressively, but only very slightly decreasing their ask. So right now we're looking at like a 65 million euro kind of landing space in the middle. We'll see. It's interesting. I feel like PSG is playing a good cop backup communication tactic on this one, because on one end they've said that they would like the players to join soon and join for the Club World Cup and so on. At the same time, like, there's also been a rumor reactivated in the last 24 hours of PSG looking at Konate from Liverpool as a potential other options for that fullback spot. Sorry, that central defender spot. So it feels a little bit like, hey, Bournemouth, like, we're good and nice and we've increased our offer, but now it's time to like actually say yes and not push us too far on this. And look at that, like, we're looking at other players, like, get it done. So we'll see if that's the case, but like, really looks like it to me. We'll see. Hopefully, like, something can get concluded. It's funny because I think I'd take Zabarnyi over Konate, but it's a very close thing for me. Obviously, Konate has a lot more experience and is a lot more known and confirmed player than Zabarnyi is. At the same time, like, Luis Enrique and Luis Campos seems to be completely hung up on Zabarnyi, and after what they've done with the recruitment last season, if that's what they want, that's what they should get, and I'm just gonna stick with that. So Zabarnyi, and we'll see where that goes. Right back, we've talked about the only thing on right back, our youngster Yoram Zague, who played a couple of games this season off of the academy. Actually looks like he's on his way to Copenhagen as a next step for his career. I think it's a player that Luis Enrique was looking at for a while and didn't really live up to his expectations. Good for him. I think like Copenhagen is a good place for him to get to the next stage. Typically a club that's dominating international leagues, that's playing in Europe every season. There's always a few good players and good youngster talents that goes there to really like continue their development. So hopefully he can do 2-3 years there, continue to improve as a player, and then like go to a bigger club after that. And knowing how Luis Campos work, I'm sure there'll be a percentage for us somewhere on that. So good for him, and yeah, like, best of luck to him. Midfield, l'équipe talked about a replacement for Vitinha, but I don't think there's a lot of names that are coming out on this, so I think that one is a bit of a wait and see. And so then we move up front. There's one name that's, a lot of people keep talking about in and around PSG, and that's a youngster from Porto, Rodrigo Mora. Who scored in Porto's last game in the Club World Cup. He scored like pretty nice goal, like dribbling one or two players, I don't remember, but like dribbling past and scoring. He's one of those like very versatile attacking players. Can play in a false 9 position, can play on the wing, can play as a number 10. So he can do a little bit of everything. He's still very young, I want to say, like I don't remember if it's 17 or 19, but like honestly, in both cases, like really, really young one. He's got like a little bit of a Vitinha physique. He's like small and very lean. So very much our style of player. Initially, like the first few times I saw him, I know like Porto plays him like very much in attack. But looking at the physique and looking at the way he plays and yeah, the dribbling and the passing and so on, I was like, actually, maybe we bring him a step back down and play him as a Vitinha sub, like, you know, organizing the game from lower in the midfield. Um, I'm still like I'm still not convinced that it's not a good idea. Maybe that's an option. Maybe that's something like a way we should think of the player. In any case, like Luis Enrique, Luis Campos, they love very versatile player, and typically when a youngster come in, they test him at every possible position on the pitch to see like what he can and cannot play. So I'd very much expect that to be the case for him. I think physically as well, like, and that's where I'm a little bit iffy about it. He doesn't feel like he's completely finished growing. Like I said, he's a very lean player. So playing in even a false nine position, but even more a number nine position in Ligue 1, which is a very physical league, is he going to be strong enough? Does he have the shoulders to actually carry that position? I have my doubts. He's a very exciting prospect. Honestly, like the technical skills are beautiful stuff. And yeah, I think the last question as well is whether he'd want to move out of Porto into a big club like PSG. The year was as a football World Cup at the end of the season, because for players, like typically at that time, there's a lot of benefits to staying in an environment that they know where they are already like assured of game time and so on. It's a better way of making sure they have visibility to get into the national team for the World Cup. So we'll see, but like interesting name. I hadn't mentioned it in my Mercato video, so I wanted to do that here. And yeah, I think in case of a Ramos leaving, I was talking about having like a younger, like offensive talent coming in. Back then, we were looking at Maximovic, or we were looking at the Greek kid in Belgium. Mora would fit in that category of like very exciting young prospects who could slot in and bring some depth to our attack. Cool, and then the last position was the attacking, like the winger on the right, the left-footed winger on the right. Not a whole lot to report there. Obviously, Mastantuono went to Real, so that's kind of done. PSG is still looking at Monaco's player for this spot, but it doesn't feel like they're entirely convinced by the price tag, which I still think is very high. I've seen a couple of names, so Lookman from Atalanta, which is a player we looked at last season, so should be in the running. I've actually seen someone mention Adeyemi, which I had mentioned in my video, so if you're listening to this and you're the one who tweeted about that, thanks for picking up on my idea. I love it. During the Club World Cup, I actually saw as well Conceicao in Juventus, who's on loan from I don't remember if it's Porto or Benfica, but like one of the Portuguese club. Very exciting, like young-ish talent, like at the 22, 23 kind of range. Juventus would like to keep him, but Juventus is like running out of money very fast, so they have to see if they can actually do it or not. If they can't, it's a player that might be available to us around like 35 million euros. And honestly, pretty exciting. So as a substitute, that might also be an option that I hadn't really considered before. There's a lot of names anyway, and I think like that's a position where like stuff will start happening after the Club World Cup anyway. And depending on what Lee does. And so yeah, like lastly, going through the players who might be leaving the club. Skriniar, apparently there's a contract offer from Fenerbahce where he's been on loan. His agent is in Turkey negotiating that. The first offer apparently is not quite good enough for him, but he's got a huge salary, PSG salary that's going to be hard for them to match. So we'll see what they can negotiate there, but it feels like a good move. He's been offered to Napoli, but they've got their doubts in terms of his age and his physical fitness and his salary as well, so probably not for him. But yeah, Turkey would be a good one for him to settle down in. Zague left. Who else did we have? Tenas I've mentioned. Then Kolo Muani. Kolo Muani, he came out in the media, said like if he was up to him, he'd want to stay in Juventus. Negotiations are still going on. Progressively, it feels like PSG is lowering and lowering their ask. The latest number I've seen is 45 million euros. When last I had checked, they didn't want to go under 50. So we'll see. Supposedly Chelsea is showing interest and talking with PSG about this. I don't know. They just got Liam Delap up front, so I like. But then again, like with Chelsea, anything is possible. It's not like it's very rational what they do. So I don't know. I don't really entirely buy into it, but yeah, like we'll see. And then all of the players that we have out on loan, Soler, Renato Sanchez, there's a few. I mean, Skriniar is part of that group. There's quite a few where there's not a whole lot. Marco Asensio as well, Mukiele. There's not a whole lot of conversation going on for them. Obviously, it's players that everyone knows we're not really counting on. So I'd very much expect they like any interested club would wait pretty much until the last minute as a way of keeping the prices down and so on. So we'll have to see, but yeah, like not really that much. And then on the way out as well, Lee Kang-in, door is apparently very much open for him, but not really anything going at this point. So once again, after the Club World Cup. Anyway, that was kind of the broad overview of what's going on in PSG transfer world. Yeah, keep cool, guys. Like, no need to fret, no need to stress. People are hard at work. The Mercato is taking a long time. We're in the middle of a Club World Cup as well, so everything is weird right now. Things will happen. We've got a very good squad already. We've won the Champions League with it. So there's no particular drama. We're not looking at rebuilding our squad from the get-go. So let's have a little bit of patience and let's trust in the process. And in any case, if you want to hear more about PSG's Mercato, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to get the notification when I post video, which I try to do daily. And then like leave a comment on this video on like who is the player that you're most hyped about that you'd really want to see playing for PSG next season. Is it Zabarnyi? Is it Mora? Is it someone else? Are you part of the whole gang who thinks Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle is going to come to France, which I absolutely do not believe, but you know, there's no bad opinions. It's Mercato, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, just drop a comment with this, and yeah, I'll keep you posted on what happens. And don't forget, ici c'est Paris.